Hey guys, another episode of Special Features. This week going to be looking at the prequel of X-Men First Class, starring James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, and Kevin Bacon. This one predates the first X-Men movie, which was, can you believe it, 11 years ago? Time flies. And I like how we get to see the characters before they became who they were. I mean, before Charles Xavier became Professor X, and before Eric Lyncher became Magneto, and you get to see how Mystique became who she is, and each particular character goes through their own personal journey of discovery. I mean, Mystique doesn't like the fact that she wants to hide who she is, and Eric is very, very conflicted with what had happened to him as a child, and he has his own issues with humans because he feels as though that mankind will not accept them, whereas Charles, played by James McAvoy, he is a very idealistic pacifist. He wants mutants and humans to get along. He just wants to have a very serene existence.
Cerebro. Magneto.
Cute. And McAvoy, you know, I was blown away by his performance as Xavier, because in a lot of ways it was like looking at a much younger and probably much more optimistic version that Sir Patrick Stewart had played. And with Bacon playing Sebastian Shaw, right off the bat, this guy is an asshole. You know, this guy has got no qualms, hang-ups, or issues, you know, with trying to set countries up to start wars with each other. He has no remorse or any kind of you know, not having to face any ramifications for what he does, and he plays that quite well. The only kind of issues I do have is with Emma Frost. Now, gotta keep in mind, X-Men Origins Wolverine is also a prequel to the first X-Men movie, and I was surprised to see Hugh Jackman drop the F-bomb.
That was hilarious, that was. Excuse me, I'm Eric Lyncher, Charles Xavier. Go fuck yourselves.
And ain't it funny, even though it was only for maybe 15 seconds, Hugh Jackman's in another X-Men movie.
He was just mad because he wasn't the main character.
But anyway...
Indeed.
But anyway, some things I have had issues with is, if Emma Frost, who is in, like I say, in Wolverine, she's a teenager in that, and yet in X-Men First Class, she looks like she's in her late 20s, early 30s. Now,
yeah,
I don't see how that makes sense. Now, with Mystique, as we found out from a very young Hank McCoy, we find out that the reason she doesn't look any older than that of, say, a girl in her mid-20s by the time X-Men 1 came around in 2000, is it's kind of in a similar way to how Superman does not age. His genetic code is basically, it's almost like retrometabolization. It's working at such an accelerated rate that by the time, say, someone who is not a mutant is 40, Mystique is going to look like someone who's 25.
I was going to nutshell it by saying, just think Hellboy.
Yeah, but I prefer to go for something more plausible, but anyway.
Oh, speaking of which, if I may, I want to make a shameless plug here. I'm writing a whole article about all the continuity and fuck-ups with X-Men First Class. If you want to see that, check out my Storm Artist, folks. I think you might find it amusing. Shameless plug over. Ta-da!
Indeed. And with Michael Fassbender, who plays a very young Magneto, I did like Michael's performance, because although he highly admires, respects and appreciates what Charles is trying to do for him, you do get this sense that there is a very huge inner conflict within him, with the way that he does not care for what he had been put through, with a young, by what Shaw had done to him in the 40s. Yet at the same time, you can be a little bit sympathetic, because if you had been put through what he had endured, you'd have a few axes to grind as well. And because this is going, from what I've been told, this is going to be a prequel trilogy, I'm going to be interested to see what they do with the follow-up for the next two movies. And, I will be very surprised if this movie is not within the top 3 honours list by the end of this year, because the writing was superbly well done. I thought the studio setups and the way they'd have the building set up to make it look authentically from the 60s, which is kind of fitting when you consider that X-Men showed up in 1963, if I'm not mistaken. To be able to put it in an era where they first show up, it's, like I say, it's very fitting. And I think I'm going to be very outspoken and just say this: worth the money. Until next time, guys. Thanks for watching. As you can guess by the t-shirt, I'm just about to go watch Green Lantern. See you in about 2 hours. Okay, I've just come back from the pictures, watching, surprise, surprise, Green Lantern. And what are my thoughts? Ryan Reynolds, really good choice as Hal Jordan. He goes through a real personal journey of discovery of how to overcome his fear and not end up the way that a loved one did. I'm not going to go spoiling too much. The press can say what they will. I thought Blake Lively was very good as Hal's love interest. Carol Esper. Hey, if I get anything wrong, put in the comment section below, because I'm a TV and video game nerd. I'm not, I love comic books, but I am not a comic book nerd or expert. So here we go. Peter Sarsgaard, very good as Hector Hammond. You see a guy who you do have a little bit of sympathy for him, how he's kind of, having the rug pulled out from under him just when he's about to get a break. And Tim Robbins, Tim Robbins is one of the best actors in the business. Why he hasn't been given enough commercial exposure since after Shawshank Redemption. Hard to think it's been 20 years since that movie. Still one of the greatest movies of all time, I might add. Mark Strong as Sinestro. The guy has a very good, dignified and classy gracefulness about him. The CG, I think the CG could have been a little bit better. It was really overwhelming to see how good it was. The only thing I found with the CG for when Reynolds would turn into the Green Lantern, when he had the mask on, say what you will, but he reminded me of Ben Stiller. I know not the reason, but that's what he looks like. I thought the story was well written. Martin Campbell was the right guy to direct this movie, considering this is the guy who directed GoldenEye. I know Casino Royale was not as good as it should have been, but that's 5 years ago. Let's move on. If there's not a sequel to this, I'll be very surprised. And just to give one final, not necessarily a spoiler as such, but you really need to hang around after the credits to see what it's going to lead into. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Only that you will need to see it. And what rating do I give this movie? Simply this. You must see this. And to end, as the oath goes, in brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. To those that worship its might, you shall not escape my power. Green Lantern. And if I got that wrong, comment section below. Until next time, guys, thank you very much, and see you next time.